This is a short video regarding some exercises that you may be given by your physiotherapist for shoulder rehabilitation. Some of them are Pilates based and some we do in class. Some are just more simple exercises that are really good to be able to do to help you gain some control over the shoulder blade after injury, and also to promote the correct movement patterns for the shoulder to ensure that your shoulder recovers as well as possible. One of the first exercises we're going to do is a Pilates exercise we've done in class, which is called the dumb waiter. And for that, we're going to have a band attached to roughly waist level somewhere. Usually a doorknob is quite good for this. The band that I'm using, these two are actually the same tension, the same strength. This green one is a TheraBand, which a lot of the physiotherapists will use, and there are different colours for different strengths. So based on what your physiotherapist has given you, I suggest you start with that one before you start working up to a stronger band. So we stand in a nice lengthened position with our weight even between both feet, drawing up through the centre of the body, a gentle abdominal connection, head up towards the ceiling. The arm is bent and the elbow is just resting gently into the waist, not really pressed into the waist, but just gently under the waist, which means it's underneath the shoulder. Length through the neck and the top of the back to really promote the distance between the ear and the top of the shoulder. This helps us to stop hitching our shoulders up as a sort of compensatory move when we find some of these movements quite challenging. So it's really important that you work just to your comfort level with this and no further. So standing in this nice position, ready to begin, palm is facing the ceiling and the band is draped across the hand between the thumb and the forefinger. We're simply going to rotate the forearm out to the side. Just about 45 degrees is as much as the range you can get naturally with full range of movement for this particular exercise. And draw back to the centre. And again. And come back. So take a breath in and you can breathe out as you rotate the forearm out to the side. And inhale as you draw back in. So exhale as you take the arm away. And inhale as you draw back in. So think of this movement coming from the top of the arm. So although I say rotate the forearm out to the side, what I'm trying to think about is actually rotating the arm bone, the humerus, the big bone at the top of the arm. I'm trying to think about rotating that in the shoulder socket. So I'm keeping the shoulder blade nice and still. If I go too far, I can feel the shoulder blade begin to retract behind me. You don't want to go that far. This is purely moving through the natural range of movement for rotation. So here we're working the four muscles around the shoulder that really help to support the shoulder, which are called the rotator cuff muscles. So do a few more of those, and you can do some to the other side. Maybe if you've got one shoulder that isn't doing well, that you're trying to rehab, then do maybe 2 sets on one side and 1 set on the other side. But don't leave the good shoulder out. It's always good to do these exercises even if you don't necessarily need them for rehabilitation. And perhaps start with 2 sets of 5. And then you can progress as you feel you're getting the strength and the range of movement and the comfort. So do some to each side. Okay, so the next exercise we're going to do is some abduction and adduction, which is a sideways movement of the arm in the shoulder joint. So we're going to start with a band that's it's got a knot in the one end, which I've put on the other side of the door and closed the door on it, so that when I pull on it, because there's a knot there, it won't come through. And it's about the only way I can think of to anchor a band high enough up. Okay, so we're going to start in this particular movement. We're going to start with the arm slightly below shoulder level and slightly in front of the shoulder as well. So if you look down the arm, it's just very slightly in front of you. So again, just hold, if you can, the band between the thumb and forefinger. If you need to wrap it, then obviously do so. And now, starting from that position, palm is going to be facing down towards the floor. You're simply going to lengthen up through the spine and lengthen the arm down towards your hip. And then with control, it's going to come back up to the start position. So breathing out as you bring the arm down, and breathe in as you control it back to the start. So both sides of this movement are really important. So it's the control as the tension of the band wants to take the arm away quickly. You're controlling against that, so your shoulder muscles are working to control that movement in both directions. Think length up through the top of the head as you do this. And again with this one, do maybe 2 sets of 5, but make sure you do some on the other side as well. Okay, once we've done that, we're now going to turn to face the door, and we're going to do some more flexion work, but adding in extension as well. So again, starting with the arms slightly below shoulder level, palm facing down towards the floor. And again, let's breathe out as we bring the hand down by the side of the hip. And then breathe in as we control that movement back up again. And again. And once you've done a few of these, maybe again your 2 sets of 5, you can add in the extension. So that's going to take the shoulder joint into extension by taking the arm back behind the body. So this first movement here, and then we're going to take the arm down and away behind the body, keeping the shoulder in a nice neutral position. Hold for a few seconds, and then with control, allow the arm to come back up to the start. And again. If you feel your shoulder, the top of your shoulder is beginning to roll forward, and you can just pop your fingers there to see, if you feel it's beginning to roll forwards and you're lifting the back of the arm right up towards the ceiling, think about length through that arm and think about trying to take it as far down towards the floor as you can, but still taking it behind you. You should feel activation down the back of the arm in the tricep muscles. And then come back up. So in holding that extension, you're really working on endurance of those muscles, and also you're building strength and promoting good muscle memory too. Okay, again, you could do maybe not so many as you're doing a hold with this, maybe do 1 set of 5, and then you can do some on the other side and just change it that way. Okay. The next exercise we're going to do is one that we have done in class before, which is a really nice way of really feeling that connection into the top of the back, which is really important for good shoulder stability. The control of the shoulder blade is really paramount in all these exercises, and it's the one thing during rehab that we really try and work on, to be able to get control of the correct movement, control of the shoulder blade, but also that then promotes the correct movement patterns through the shoulder when we move our arms, which in turn promotes a much more effective movement and a far less strained movement, even though there may be injuries. Okay, so arms in a low V with the band in between the hands. You can wrap the band around the hands if you need to. Okay, so now we're going to take a breath in as we lengthen the arms away in front of us up towards the ceiling, however far you feel is comfortable for you. A little bit of tension through the band often promotes a little bit slightly greater range of movement. And then as we breathe out, we're going to lengthen the elbows wide to the side, and we're going to bring the band towards the forehead. You should feel an engagement across the top of the back, through the back of the shoulders and towards the center of the back. And then take the arms up, back to that elevated position, and then back down by your side. And again, take a breath in as you take the arms up. Breathe out as you lengthen the elbows nice and wide. Band to the forehead, not forehead to the band. Breathe in as you come back up to the top, and breathe out as you close back down again. And continue here. So with this, you're really thinking about length through the elbows as you take the arms wide, back up to the top and down. If you think about length through the elbows, it's really helping activate the muscles that will support the arms and the tension on the band and prevent that elevation of the shoulders to compensate. If you find you can't take the elbows very wide, or you don't have the strength between the hands, you can do this with a pole, just a broomstick, something like that, which is also really nice to do. The band just gives you that extra challenge so you can feel the muscles working across the back of the shoulders. And just to finish off, we're just going to do a stretch for the front of the chest. So now we've been working around the shoulders, and one of the things that we find with shoulder injuries and through rehab is that the compensatory movements that we often make when we have shoulder problems, we tend to roll the shoulders forward a bit, and we become very quite forward flexed, and we can become shorter between the head of the shoulder here and the breastbone. So it's those big pec muscles, those pectoral muscles, that become a little bit shorter. So at the end of every session that you do for shoulder movement, it's really nice to be able to stretch those pectoral muscles out, as well as feeling as though that you've done some really good work across the shoulders as well. So I will just do it standing against the wall here. So you can do this actually into a door opening is often quite a nice way of doing it, where you have the forearm just inside the door, and as though you're going to step through the door. So you have your elbow just below shoulder height, you have your forearm directly up towards the ceiling, lengthened through the fingers, and you're going to stand nice and tall, a comfortable distance away from the wall, so that you've got the right distance between your shoulder and your elbow, and you're not too close in, and you're not too far away, and you're stretching. So then you're simply, with the inside leg, thinking nice and tall, you're simply going to step forwards, leave the forearm where it is, the elbow anchored to the wall, and then come forward as far as you feel the stretch between the breastbone and the top of the shoulder, keeping the shoulders and the hips facing forwards and moving forwards in space. What you don't want to do is to be turning into the doorway, because then you're not getting the stretch, or really just pushing away, because then you're getting too much stretch, you're not controlling it. So just come forwards till you feel a small amount of tension in the front of the chest there, and then hold for a few seconds, and then just come back, and then go into it again. So maybe do that 3 times on each side. That's a really nice stretch to be able to do, and it's a really nice one to do because we always spend so much time in forward flexion. Whatever we do during the day, everything happens in front of us, so we're always moving and bending forwards or stretching forwards or whatever. So to be able to stretch out the front of the chest is a really nice thing to be able to do, and it really does help with keeping those shoulders in the correct alignment and the good tension between the shoulder blades when you need it, and to keep particularly those shoulder blades down where they should be.